Hey, all you beautiful people. Welcome to the Love Affair with Myself podcast. I'm your host, Hannah. Before we dive into today's episode, I just want to let you know that this podcast is designed for my impulsive ADHD, hot ass mess, bad bitches out there who are struggling with anxiety and low self esteem. I hope you build your self confidence and find your purpose in life. I hear you, and you're not alone on this journey. So be sure to subscribe and follow me and join our community of support on Instagram. And if you're loving this content, which I know that you will, please leave me a rating and a review to help others who need the support. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Love Affair with Myself podcast. I mean, technically it's the second episode. I meant to record this one before the last episode. Episode 2 is available on my website, ownmyoutcome.com. And it's a podcast with my very best friend, Tara Bray. And we talk about how I lost my mom in 2020 and how she never got to travel. And that was one of her biggest dreams. And Tara is a huge travel adventurist. And she talked about what it's like to remove those fears, those excuses, take a chance, and fulfill those dreams. The purpose of this episode is really to give you an introduction to this podcast, why we're here, and why you care. Why you care to listen to this, right? Before we get into that, I'll just give you a quick update on my life. I recently went to an Irish Fest last week and it was so much fun. I absolutely love any chance I get to drink beer. I'm not gonna lie, like I love it so much. And I have a little mini Dutch hound. Her name is Georgia, and I dressed her up in this cute little bow for St. Patrick's Day. And she's the freaking cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm biased. Yes, I am. Other than that, I also became an aunt in January to a little baby girl, and she is the love of my life. And she is growing up so fast already. And it just makes me so sad, but just so happy to see her little milestones and growing more of those facial expressions. I love it so much. So, in this very first episode, technically second, I want to talk about the heart of this podcast. Why are we here? And that this content will be very authentic. We're going to keep the fluffy feel good stuff to the side and have real conversations. It's really about overcoming challenges and really understand the root cause of anxiety or ADHD and how to build your self confidence from there and ultimately find your life purpose. I want to dive into my personal story, and I hope that this resonates with you. I want to start from the beginning and how I got to this point. As a child, I grew up in the country and it was actually a really great childhood. I definitely wouldn't replace it for the world. I'm really thankful that it gave me an opportunity to play freely and be more adventurous and creative. But I also grew up in an alcoholic home where there was a lot of chaos and a lot of unknowns. And that took a toll on my self confidence, and I built a lot of really bad habits. As a child, I had undiagnosed ADHD. My mom just thought maybe I had a learning disability, and she would put me into these learning centers, or I would have to go to summer school. And I really just thought I was just dumb. Like, I was like really bad at school and I'd have a lot of lunch detentions. Growing up in an alcoholic home and having undiagnosed ADHD, I had very impulsive behaviors and I had really low self esteem. And from there, I had a lot of really bad experiences with men. And my first boyfriend in high school had sexually assaulted me. And when you're young and you meet a boyfriend at the age of, I think I was 12 or 13, and you have poor boundaries and you don't really know how to say no, you think that you're trying to please the other person, where now I understand as an adult that, no means no. And so that went on for 5 years. And then I finally got out of that relationship and I got into another relationship, and we ended up getting married. And unfortunately, we divorced after 7 years. And I joined the military after that. That was a really hard time for me. I had made a lot of mistakes and did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. Through healing, now I understand why, but I will definitely get into that in future episodes. I served as a logistics officer for 3 years on active duty, and in 2020, I lost my mom to breast cancer. And that was a really, really tough time. At that time, I was transitioning out of the military. The pandemic hit, so it seemed like everybody was going remote. Fortunately, I found a company who I could work with full time, and they didn't have a physical office, so that really worked out well. That was a really lonely time in my life. I had an ex boyfriend who was not supportive, and I just felt really lost. And I was like, I really need help. And if any of you have ever served in the military, you kind of know that going to therapy or being on any sort of medications for mental health, that there's really a stigma around it. So I didn't have that kind of support while I was on active duty, but as soon as I transitioned out and got on a different insurance plan through my new company, that's when I started therapy. And I started to uncover a lot of things that were connected to my childhood, which I had no idea that, well, at that time, that a lot of your behaviors or the ways that you are connected back to your childhood. That therapist at the time, she really encouraged me to work on my self confidence. And a couple years after that, that boyfriend I had at that time and I had moved to Washington, D.C. And I had contemplated breaking it off, but I just didn't have the confidence yet. Once I moved to Washington, D.C., I had to get another therapist, and this one was a little bit harder on me. She was a little bit more real, and she would just tell me flat out, like, Hannah, like, that's not a good idea, or yeah, I don't think you should do that. And she helped me build that self confidence, and I trusted her guidance. It was Christmas time, and my ex boyfriend had been hinting about proposing, and I was like, "Oh shit." Like, I really don't want that. And I vividly remember I used to live on this, like, really high-rise apartment in DC. It had a beautiful, balcony and a rooftop pool. I absolutely loved it. I just remember going up to the roof and having a private conversation with my therapist. I told her what was going on, and I just remember feeling so overwhelmed with emotions. I was crying, and I had decided right then and there that I was not going to go with him to his family Christmas, and I was going to break things off. So I packed up my things and I went back to Illinois, and I arranged for a moving company, and Tara helped me along with her dad's minivan. So shout out to Tara's dad. She helped me pack up all of my things in the apartment, and within 2 days I was into my new apartment, and that was right after Christmas. I was really depressed and I was on my own, and I had started drinking really heavily and just like really high anxiety. So a week after I'd recovered from getting COVID, I was leaving the bar, and at the time I didn't have a car. So I was like, okay, this is a great idea to buy a scooter. And so I was riding my personal scooter and I hit the sidewalk and I flew and I knocked out these front four teeth. I broke my elbow. I had stitches in my hand. I broke this bone right here. It was straight up not a good time. That was the first time I had ever actually broken anything. Second time I had stitches. It was not good. I was in DC by myself. I had no support. I was going to a dinner date that night, and after the guy sat with me in the ER for 7 hours and gave me back my scooter, then he ghosted me. So, so yeah. Which I don't blame him. That's fine. It was a hot ass mess, anyways. I called my cousin. Shout out Amanda. Thank you for helping me. She got on a plane, actually got stranded in Philadelphia because of a snowstorm, and eventually made it that night. And she was like, dude, you are fucked up. So that was super fun. So my cousin Amanda, she encouraged me to move back to Illinois and live with her. Thank God she's a nurse. She knew exactly how to take care of me and who I needed to see. And when I was in occupational therapy at that time, I had met my ex-boyfriend who lived here. I thought he was the one, and I moved to the town that he lived in, and we made it about 15 months, and he ended up discarding me. So yeah, I decided to get a new therapist and really focus on myself, and I lost 30 pounds, and here we are. That's a little bit about myself. I want to help you and encourage you to start to get deeper into your healing journey and get to the root cause, because if you're anything like me, there's hope for you, and you don't have to live like this. And by building your self confidence, it's a game changer, let me tell you. We're not going to dwell on the problems here. We're going to focus more on the solutions. And throughout this podcast, I'll be sharing more expert insights and actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges and really step into your power so that you too do not have to deal with that same shit. Good learning experiences overall, right? So you can expect professional therapists on here who can give their expert opinion. I love to do tarot card readings, and that has helped me really get focused on my goals and objectives for the year, and I want to share that with you. I also want to mention that through tarot reading, that's where I got the idea for the name of this podcast. In a new year beginning, tarot reading where we talk about the year ahead and how to prioritize what we want to manifest. In that specific reading, my tarot card reader said, Hannah, you need to start a love affair with yourself. And that really stuck with me. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking love that. Stay tuned because she will be coming on to one of the podcast episodes and doing a reading. And that'll be super fun. I'll have people who have overcome these same challenges and struggles that you and I have had to overcome, who are here to give you encouragement and build a better life for yourself. And so much more. I'll be sharing actionable steps that you can take right now to make positive changes in your life. And in the meantime, while you're waiting with anticipation for the next episodes, you can check out my website, ownmyoutcome.com. I also have a blog series on there. At the end of each blog post, there are journal prompts. I'll share my story with you and encourage you to take actionable steps for yourself to start exploring more of your experience. You can also find free templates in my link tree. If you go to my website, ownmyoutcome.com, at the top right, there is a shop section. And once you open the link tree, you can go to the store and there are free templates there. I will encourage you to check back on a weekly basis for updated templates and free resources that you can use to help uncover the root cause of your struggles and to help you build your confidence. I will be releasing a mini workbook series. These will be mini stories of my experiences, and I will encourage you to reflect and think about your own experiences. I hope that helps you uncover more of the root cause of your own anxieties. If you love this content or you have some ideas or some topics that you'd like me to cover, go ahead and send me a personal message on Instagram at own.my.outcome on Instagram. That is a wrap for this episode. Remember that no matter what life throws at you, you've got this. You're in control of your own life. So join me next week for real talk and expert insights. Until then, stay spicy and take care of yourself. See you in the next one. Thank you to my inspiring baddies in this community at Love Affair with Myself. I'll be back next week with more insights, stories, and strategies to build your self-confidence and to help you find purpose in this amazing life that we are living. In the meantime, head over to ownmyoutcome.com to read the blog, which are filled with my personal stories, and download free templates to help you understand your emotions better and build your self-confidence. Take care of yourself and remember that I hear you. I understand the struggles, the doubts, but also the incredible fire within. You're not defined by the limitations of your past, and that's fucking powerful. See you in the next one.